Hi everybody, Bill Duvendack here with the February 2025 monthly astrological preview video. So grab your cup, get cozy, and let's chat because February, good luck with that. So first of all, as you've seen, I do these videos so that they come out on the first of the month. And the reason for that is because humanity's world, society's world runs on the calendar, not the astrological ingresses. I point that out because it means basically each month is divided into half. The first half of the month corresponding or ruled by the previous astrological sign, and the latter half of the month, the upcoming astrological sign. So what we have in February are the first few weeks are in Aquarius, and then the last few weeks are in Pisces. But you know there's going to be something. This year's different. This year's very different. You see, we start off February with 6 planets in Pisces. And I hate to tell you, Aquarians, but it's almost like you got skipped this year around. Now we know the sun moves through Aquarius, Mercury, Pluto is currently in Aquarius, so don't get me wrong, I'm not diminishing you. I'm simply saying that there is more Pisces energy for the entirety of the month than there are or have been in previous years. So what does this mean? Well, for all signs, it means this is a month of emotions, strong emotions, being extra sensitive to things that people say or do. If you're not careful, if you're a toxic empath, this means getting lost in emotions. If you have a healthy boundary system in place and you've been working with emotions all of your life, then you might be able to harness all of this activity to give you energy to accomplish your goals. February 1st begins with the north node of the moon retrograde, conjunct Venus, conjunct Neptune, conjunct the moon, all in Pisces, and additionally Saturn is there as well. So if this month feels different, if it feels weird, if it feels off, it's because of all the activity in Pisces. Pisces is the most psychic sign of the zodiac. Pisces is a water sign, so it has strong emotions. It's a mutable sign, meaning that it can transmute emotions, and that as quickly as they are in the dumps, they can be on top of the world. But with this much emphasis on emotions, it is saying that you should really be careful that you don't get caught up in emotions and do something stupid or cause some pain or self-injure. And I don't mean physically, I mean emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. Pisces is also a sign associated with spirituality, making this a good month for spiritual initiation and spiritual changes. However, the downside to Pisces is that it may leave you feeling overwhelmed. It may leave you feeling like you're lost in a sea of emotions and you don't know which ones are real and which ones are delusions, or which ones are your emotions versus someone else's. Pisces can also correspond to escapism. So addictions are the common word that goes with Pisces. Thus, as you can see, there's a lot of challenges that go with this placement, but there's a lot of benefits too. Another rub of Pisces is that Pisces, much like Aquarius, is known as a visionary sign. Their ideas are ahead of their times, and that causes problems. As H.P. Lovecraft, the American horror author, pointed out many decades ago, the oldest fear of humanity is fear of the unknown. Well, it's in the unknown that Aquarius and Pisces excel. So you see the problem. Aquarians and Pisces come along and say, hey, there's a new, better way to do this. Let's try something new. And your average person who lacks courage rejects the visionary. And trust me, I'm a Pisces. That causes fucking pain to be drugged down because you've lost the numbers game. You've got the guns, but they got the numbers, and the numbers win every flippin' time. So, you may have visionary ideas during February. However, the problem is don't expect them to be embraced, and to take it a step further, you may be ostracized or denigrated for your ideas that are probably right. Also on the 1st, the Sun in Aquarius is trining Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, telling us it's a good time to reevaluate how you get along with your social circles and how you communicate with others. Mars is still retrograde in Cancer, so Cancer is a water sign, and that gives us 7 planets in water signs for the month. And that Mars retrograde in Cancer is trining the north node of the moon retrograde, Venus-Neptune conjunction in Pisces. This tells us focus on the home, focus on the immediate family, focus on your long-time friends, and reevaluate them, reevaluate yourself in context of them, and do what needs to be done. A conversation I had with someone the other day is about the idea of duty, doing something from a duty perspective. And they pointed out that's duty. And I said, yes, duty is born from love. Pisces is also known as a sign of compassion, forgiveness, empathy, understanding. And as many of you know, especially here in the United States of America, all of those traits are being shat on regularly. We see it almost minute by minute, hour by hour. And I point that out because even though you might feel compassionate, even though you might feel empathic or forgiving, it doesn't mean the people around you are. So practice discretion when you exhibit it. Also on the 1st, Uranus in Taurus is sextiling the moon, which is conjunct Neptune and Venus in Pisces. Essentially, this is saying the unexpected is going to come up in daily life, but for the 1st, you may find that's a good thing. So the phrase unexpected blessings heading your way is something to keep in mind. That same Uranus in Taurus is sextiling the Mars retrograde in Cancer, and we see the same logic applied here. The unexpected things that happen in daily life may actually be helping you with your family, your home, and your longtime friends. Besides the Pisces stellium, we also have an Aquarius stellium with the Sun, Mercury, and Pluto all in Aquarius. And both of these stelliums are going to last the majority of the month. The Pisces stellium ebbs and flows with its strength through the whole month. The Aquarius stellium lasts until the Sun enters into Pisces. So, the takeaway from this is that if you're any kind of thinker, if you're any kind of intelligent person, and I don't mean you tell yourself intelligent, but facts and evidence prove you wrong. I mean, if you're actually intelligent and you have good, innovative, cutting-edge ideas, you're probably going to have a real hard time of it. Not because there's anything wrong with you, but because there are millions or billions of people, if you extend this globally, who want to drag you down to their level because you're too good or smart for them. So play it safe. Play it cautious. On the 2nd, we got the moon conjunct Chiron in Aries, so watch for wounds to be exposed to you. If you already know them, then this will be a finger in your face, so to speak, from the powers that be, that perhaps you need to do more healing. Now, the positive side of this is that your intuition may say, you got to know your limitations, and here's your limitations. Also on the 2nd, the Pisces stellium does weaken, but it's still there. Mars retrograde in Cancer is trining Saturn in Pisces. This will last until the 15th. When you have Mars retrograde trining Saturn, it tells us that this is a good time to go within and get back in touch with your inner masculine side. And contrary to propaganda, Everybody has a masculine side. Everybody has a feminine side. It's just that on the second, it's time to work with the masculine and fixing yours. So, for example, if you're a misogynist or you have issues thinking that men are superior, and those are issues, then this is a time to fix that thought. If you don't believe in the masculine face of God, this is a time to reevaluate why and what you can do about it, because that's toxic too. And that moon conjunct Chiron in Aries is now squaring Mars retrograde in Cancer. And this tells us that wounds you have in your psyche may be exposed by the family, the home, and longtime friends. Now, on the 4th, we've got Venus moving into Aries. So watch for impulsiveness and short tempers when it comes to interacting with your romantic partner or partners. It also tells us avoid impulse buying. But on the bright side, between the 4th and the 10th, you may find that opportunities come your way all of a sudden, and if you don't seize them, they're just gone. We've also got that ingress sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. So the more that you work with the positive and negative traits of Venus entering into Aries, the more you are undergoing transformation to take you to the next level of your growth. But on that same day, we have the moon in Taurus squaring Pluto in Aquarius, telling us that if you look around and you see that methods you once used to obtain success are no longer valid, it's going to be obvious to you, and it's time to change them. That same moon in Taurus is also sextiling Saturn in Pisces, informing us that now, as you go through the 4th, you might find that by having a good physical outlet for your emotions, you are spiritually and emotionally maturing. Mercury in Aquarius is trining Jupiter, which is now stationing, moving retrograde to direct, and essentially, this means that it is smart to watch your conversations with others, because if you don't mind your P's and Q's, as the old phrase goes, you may find that sometimes that has no effect, and other times it has a profound effect. Jupiter's stationing lasts the 4th and the 5th. So watch your money during those days. You might get false messages from the spiritual realms if you don't have systems in place to differentiate what's authentic and what's not. And that moon in Taurus on the 4th is squaring Mercury in Aquarius, meaning if you have physical ways to vent your emotions, you might not be able to communicate those with others, or maybe you have to turn off the chatter of interacting with other people in order to take care of your emotional self. Now, if you'll notice, I skipped the 3rd, and the reason I skipped the 3rd is because it's nice and quiet. There's still the Pisces stellium, but there's no appreciable aspects. On the 5th, we have the moon conjunct Uranus in Taurus. Watch for unexpected emotions coming to the surface, and avoid doing things like binge eating or binge spending just to feel better about yourself. Actually fix your shit instead of putting a band-aid on it. And both of those are sextiling Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces, meaning that this is kind of a spiritual and emotional test. When the unexpected comes up during your daily life, how do you respond? If you respond with fear, you're halfway to failure. If you respond by seeing it as an opportunity, you're headed on the right track. Now, the sun in Aquarius is sextiling Chiron in Aries. This will last until the 10th, so you've got about 4 or 5 days of working with that energy. This tells us it's a day for healing. The 5th through the 10th is a good time to heal thyself, specifically using new ideas and new methods to heal long-standing psychological issues. On the 6th, we've got the moon conjunct Jupiter in Gemini, which is now direct. It's a good day to spend time with friends. Have fun. Go do something lighthearted. You've got the heaviness of Pisces all month. You can put it on the shelf for a day. And both of those are trining the sun, which is conjunct Mercury in Aquarius. So it's great to communicate, and not just for the fun-loving aspects, but also because you might get opportunities for prosperity and learning brought your way through your friend circles. Now, on that day, February 6th, there are 5 planets in air signs, and that is going to be going on until the 13th. Water and air. What do those make? Do you know? Because scientifically, they do make something. So they make a tsunami. They make a hurricane. And the reason I point this out is because what this is saying is if you work with your mind and inspiration, if you work with learning, you may find that you tap into your emotions and you can use your emotions as energy to get things done. But also on the 6th, the moon in Gemini is squaring Saturn in Pisces. And this is more a non-factor than a factor, but this aspect tells us that in your pursuit of having fun with friends, be careful you don't slip up and spiritually or emotionally regress into bad habits. On the 7th, that moon in Gemini is still squaring Saturn in Pisces, but now you throw Neptune and the north node of the moon in the mix, telling us that if you're a shallow person and you focus on shallow things, it's going to work against you spiritually and emotionally. That same moon in Gemini, though, is trining still Mercury conjunct the sun. And I point that out because, yes, it continues to be a good day with friends. You just don't want to succumb to peer pressure. On the 8th, we've got the moon in Cancer squaring Venus in Aries, so watch out in your romantic life. There may be misunderstandings. There might be arguments that have to do with how to proceed with various things that are going on in your life. And that's about it. So the 3rd and the 8th are good days, astrologically speaking, where you don't have to worry or be concerned about certain things happening. They're a little quieter. The 8th is a little bit more challenging than the 3rd, but really, if you keep your wits about you, both will be fine. Now, on the 9th, we got the moon conjunct Mars retrograde in Cancer, and both of those, or that aspect, is squaring Chiron in Aries. A good way to look at this, and I don't agree with this, but the phrase kind of sums up the point. A good way to look at this is you hurt the ones you love. In this case, what it's saying is on the 9th, you may find that your emotions are triggered when you're dealing with the immediate family, long-term friends, and the home. When those emotions, or if those emotions get triggered, they're going to hit a wound. So the last thing you want to do is project that. The first thing you should do is look within and say, whoa, why'd I have that reaction to it? Where'd that come from? How do I fix me? Now, that moon conjunct Mars retrograde in Cancer is also trining Saturn in Scorpio. The more that you ask those questions, the more you are spiritually and emotionally growing. The moon conjunct Mars retrograde in Cancer is also sextiling Uranus in Taurus. The unexpected good things that come your way on the 9th may carry you towards healing and getting along with your family and close friends. Now, the sun is still conjunct Mercury in Aquarius at this time, and both of those are squaring Uranus in Taurus. That's going to last for about 6 days until the 15th. And this tells us that if you spend too much time with friends, you may be the source of your own undoing. Or perhaps the case is that something unexpected comes up and you have to cancel spending time with friends. Regardless, expect the unexpected. On the 10th, we've got the moon in Leo trining Chiron in Aries, so it's a good day to heal your wounds by focusing on what is best for you. Both of those are opposing Pluto in Aquarius, giving us a fixed sign T-square. And essentially it's saying, if you focus on your healing and doing what's best for you, it's probably going to put you at odds with society or your circles of friends. and that's going to cause tension and challenges. The moon in Leo on that day is trining the North Node retrograde conjunct Neptune in Pisces. Since we have an out of element trine here, it tells us it's all about your willpower mixed with your emotions. It is all about saying, okay, I know what I need to do for me. How do I do this to hurt the fewest amount of people possible? Now, sometimes things work out and you don't hurt anyone when you do what's best for you. But a lot of people have a fixed idea of you in their minds. And if you deviate from that, then they think you sold out or you're doing something wrong, when in reality, you're just evolving. On the 11th, we've got the moon in Leo sextiling Jupiter in Gemini. This circles back to spending time with friends, but it also says it's a good day to engage your creativity and your hobbies and all of those interests. Also on the 11th, the moon in Leo is trining Chiron in Aries, so it continues to be a good day for healing. On the 12th, we've got the full moon, the moon in Leo opposing the sun, which is conjunct Mercury. You know, this could be a real headache of a full moon, depending on what's in your astrological chart. Because it's saying on the 12th of February, you might be torn between doing what's best for you versus doing what's best for others or doing what's best for all involved. And the problem with this, besides the obvious, is that ego issues and arrogance and pride might come up. Now, that same moon in Leo is squaring Uranus in Taurus. So the more you get stuck on me, the more problems it may cause in your daily life. Or another way to look at this is the more you indulge your creativity and your hobbies, the more you miss seeing unknown blessings coming your way. On the 13th, we've got the moon in Virgo squaring Jupiter in Gemini. You might desire to work that day, but if so, you're not going to have opportunities to spend time with your friends. Perhaps you're so ingrained in the daily work that you miss the bigger picture of principles and existentialism, and that works against you. And that square is also impacted by the moon in Virgo opposing Saturn in Pisces, meaning we have a mutable T-square on that day. So the 13th is a mutable T-square. So the 10th is a fixed T-square. A few days later on the 13th is a mutable T-square. And I point that out because it does show that from the 10th to the 13th or the 9th through the 14th, there's going to be challenges. It's going to be choppy waters. So be careful. Remember that the agitation from a T-square, though, is meant to shake things up because they need shaken up. So then it's on you to adapt, evaluate, and move forward. On the 14th, we've got the moon in Virgo opposing Neptune conjunct the North Node in Pisces, focusing on your work life or your daily work routine may stifle your spirit or your creativity, but this only lasts for a few days. So don't blow it out of proportion. Sometimes you have to put the creative aside to get to work. Also on the 14th, the moon in Virgo is trining Uranus in Taurus, revealing that this is a good day if you keep your head down and nose to the grindstone, that the unexpected things that come your way could give you an opportunity for long-term growth, particularly when it comes to the internet and the World Wide Web. On the 14th, Mercury moves into Pisces, and I point that out because that means the 13th, 14th, and maybe the early part of the 15th, depending on where you are in the world, may feel like a mini retrograde, but it's not. It's Mercury moving from a sign that it's strong in, which is Aquarius, to a sign that it's weak in, which is Pisces. Mercury in Pisces is all about communicating, but using a lot of florid language or using a lot of existentialism rather than directness. So you may find you become one of those people that rambles with a story to prove a point or to illustrate a point, and you lost your audience 30 seconds in when they realized, oh crap, here they go again. I got to sift through this bullshit. So be careful with your language. And I'm not saying that's a wrong process to share a story to illustrate a point. I'm simply saying you have to have the social skill of reading the room to see how that would be accepted before the words just fall out of your mouth like a petulant child. On the 15th, we've got a grand air trine, so it's a good day for inspiration, for making connections with people, for brainstorming, and just all out having fun. And this grand air trine is existing between the moon in Libra, Jupiter in Gemini, and Pluto in Aquarius. You see how all of those have to do with others. How you get along with others on a one-on-one, how you get along with groups. But the key is, yes, it's a grand air trine, so it's great for all the things that I mentioned, but it's also a day to get lost in your head, which is toxic. And one of the ways to come back down to earth is to remember that the moon in Libra is opposing Venus in Aries on that day. So you may seek balance, but it ruffles feathers. Or you may have a precise conversation laid out in your head, but somebody else projects their unhealed wounds onto it. So be careful with your loved ones and be careful with your money on the 15th. On the 16th, we've got another T-square, this time cardinal. So a fixed T-square on the 10th, a mutable T-square on the 13th, and 3 days later, a cardinal T-square. A cardinal T-square is all about trusting divinity by whatever name you know it. That cardinal T-square is happening between the moon in Libra, which is opposing Chiron in Aries. So being the diplomat might not heal your wounds. And that moon in Libra is also squaring Mars retrograde in Cancer. So being the diplomat, but it is more like you are indecisive, particularly with the family and longtime friends. On the 17th, we've got another light day, astrologically speaking. The moon in Libra is trining the sun in Aquarius. So go out and have fun. And you see how the 15th through the 17th is all about spending time with friends, interacting with society, doing things that are inspiring and uplifting. But on the 18th, the sun moves into Pisces. So the 17th and 18th might be full of emotional challenges as the sun gets ready to make that shift, especially considering the fact that we have the Pisces stellium going on in the background. The moon in Scorpio is trining the sun in Pisces on that day, and Mercury is there as well. So the trine between the moon in Scorpio and the sun and Mercury in Pisces tells us it's a good day for spiritual initiation. It's a good day to refine your occultism skills if you use them. It's also a good day to be creative. It's a good day to emotionally, openly communicate with others. And you may find it's a good day to just get creative. Lock yourself in a room and just do your creative work for 24 hours. There is a water grand trine that's going on the 18th too. So your intuition will be sharper than normal, your psychic skills will be sharper than normal, your emotions will be sharper than normal, but you'll have better control over them. Now that moon in Scorpio is trining the Mars retrograde in Cancer, which is the third piece of that water grand trine. So it is a good day to focus on all the Mars retrograde Cancer stuff I've been talking about through this video so far. But the moon in Scorpio is squaring Pluto in Aquarius, telling us that the more focused you are, the more you are emotionally invested or emotionally active with things, the more you might find that what's going on with society is not to your favor. And that's an issue. On the 19th, that moon of Scorpio is opposing Uranus in Taurus. We had this in January, towards the tail end of January, and I had somebody ask me about this. They asked what I meant by this. Essentially, on the 19th, with that moon opposing Uranus, you may find that too much focus is a bad thing. Living your life with blinders on, not seeing the opportunities and the beauty that is happening around you. The moon in Scorpio is trining Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node in Pisces, so it continues the theme of what we talked about on the 18th. On the 20th, we have the Sun in Pisces squaring the Moon in Sagittarius. You may be as gentle of a soul as it comes, but the problem is you got to be direct with people, and it may take a lot within you, a lot of courage to be direct with people. Or you might find that you are honest and direct with people, and it doesn't really help you feel good, but you know you're doing what is right. Now, that same moon in Sagittarius is trining Venus in Aries. It's a good day to get active. Go take a trip with loved ones. Spend your money on travel. You know, this reminds me of one of the principles of prosperity, which is when you go to a grocery store, don't buy meals, buy ingredients. It's that same idea here. Don't spend money on something that'll make you feel good, that'll sit around the house and get dust. Spend money on taking a trip. Spend money on doing an activity that is spiritually gratifying. And that same moon in Sagittarius is opposing Jupiter in Gemini, informing us that if you do this, spend conservatively. Don't go all out. On the 21st, we've got that moon in Sagittarius squaring Saturn in Pisces. This is going to be real problematic because what it tells us is that if you're honest, you might find you're not as advanced as you thought you are. Or perhaps if you're traveling to run away from things rather than face things of an emotional and spiritual nature. Now, that same moon in Sagittarius is trining Chiron in Aries, revealing that it is a good day to travel, like I've been saying, for the 20th and the 21st. And through travel, if you're running to something, not away from something, you can achieve some inner psyche healing. On the 22nd, that moon in Sagittarius is squaring the North Node retrograde, which is conjunct Neptune in Pisces. On the 22nd, watch out for travel. You may have a desire to take a trip, but it might work against you, particularly if it is a trip overseas. The moon in Sagittarius is trining Chiron in Aries, which continues the theme of the 21st, in that the spirituality you embrace and the traveling you do can help you heal your mind. And Mercury is conjunct Saturn in Pisces. This can be an issue because when you have Mercury conjunct Saturn, it tells us that you might not feel like you can speak your truth. So on the 22nd, you might feel that way regarding emotions and spirituality. So choose your words carefully. And remember, discretion is the better part of valor. On the 23rd, and really the 23rd, 24th, and 25th, we've got the moon in Capricorn. On the 23rd, it squares Venus in Aries. On the 24th, it squares Chiron in Aries. So the squares. The squares are challenges. On the 23rd, the challenge is embracing the moon in Capricorn, which is all about maturity and responsibility and duty. And that means leaving impulsive reactions behind. Taking the slow and steady and mature approach rather than the instant gratification approach, specifically when it comes to romantic relationships or impulse buying. Also on the 24th, that moon in Capricorn is sextiling Mercury in Pisces. So this is a good day to use stories to illustrate your point if reading the room tells you it's wise to do so. On the 23rd, we have Mars stationing direct in Cancer. That only lasts for a couple of days, the 23rd and the 24th. So watch your temper, specifically when it comes to your immediate family and longtime friends. Also, watch your temper so you don't do things when you're angry, like punch a hole in the wall or do something destructive to the home. Now, on the 24th, like I said, the moon in Capricorn is squaring Chiron, essentially revealing that the more you focus on the mature and the responsible, the more it aggravates your internal wounds. So you got to have your coping mechanisms in place. Now, also on the 24th, that same moon is sextiling Neptune, which is conjunct the North Node in Pisces. Even though that moon may trigger wounds in your psyche you have not addressed, keep your eyes focused on the spiritual. Keep your eyes focused on the mature. We have a cardinal T-square on that day as well. And the real crux of the matter here is more challenges, just like the previous T-squares that we mentioned. But now the T-square is all about growing up. How do I mean that? I mean, if you're an adult, leaving childish behaviors behind. If you are an adult moving into an older age of adult, embracing the fact that you're closer to death than life, and there's nothing wrong with that because it happens to everyone. So enjoy your newfound place in life. That moon in Capricorn, though, on the 24th, is conjuncting Pluto in Aquarius. For those of you that are leaders, or you like to, or maybe you do have positions of authority, the 24th is a good day to say, okay, how am I going to use my position and my status to change society for the better? That's the key. That moon in Capricorn is trining Uranus in Taurus, informing us that the more you focus on these adult themes, the more unexpected things come up in your daily life, but they are good in the long run. Now, that moon in Capricorn, though, is opposing Mars, which is stationing direct in Cancer, meaning your temper might be shorter if you are opposed by your family and longtime friends, or perhaps you have to sacrifice time spent with them in order to focus on your business and your career and your occupation. I'm sure you get the picture there. On the 25th, the moon in Aquarius is sextiling Venus in Aries. So the more that you are emotionally engaged in your life on the 25th, the more love and money you might get out of it instantly rather than deferred. Also on the 25th, the moon in Aquarius is trining Jupiter in Gemini. So when you look at the bigger picture of the 25th, we circle back to the idea that it's all about spending time with friends, doing light-hearted things. On the 26th, the moon in Aquarius is squaring Uranus in Taurus. So in your attempts and in your efforts to spend time with friends in frivolous activities, that may set the stage for unexpected challenges to come up in your daily life because you're not paying attention to the grounded things you need to pay attention to. However, the trade-off is, on the 26th, that moon in Aquarius is sextiling Chiron in Aries, meaning that, yeah, maybe your life is a little bit harder in the 25th than the 26th because you're spending time with friends and not paying attention to the duties that you have, but spending time with friends is exactly what you need for your own inner healing. And on the 27th, guess what? The month ends with a new moon. New moon in Pisces. 6 planets in Pisces. I'm a Pisces. I got 2 planets in Pisces. Only 2. And I say this because people like me, your Pisces friends, this is going to be a profound, potentially life-changing day for them. And depending on their character, it will either be positive or negative. But here's the rub, and this should be kept in mind for the entire month. Geminis, Virgos, and Sagittarians are probably going to have a real rough time of February because all of those signs, and keep in mind, I'm not just talking about the sun signs here, I'm talking about the concentration of planets in one's chart. All of those are forming challenging squares to all of this Pisces activity. So the challenge for the Pisces is they might get carried away. The challenge for Virgo is it may feel like they're losing their mind because Virgos like to control. be analytical and be grounded. And Pisces says, what the hell is this ground you're talking about? And Geminis and Sagittarians, well, they want to be like Pisces, but they can't figure it out in their own heads. Gemini is too superficial with a variety of interests. Sagittarians are too focused. And while they're optimistic, sometimes that blinds them to the grim realities that they live in. And that's the 6 planets in Pisces is also true for the 28th. Now, I realize this video is shorter than others have been in the past, but the reason for that is really the big mover of this whole month is the Pisces stellium. Secondary would be the stellium in Aquarius in the first part of the month. And then you can see, as I have illustrated, that there's some T-squares that happen and a couple of grand trines. But all of those are put against the context of the multiple planets in Pisces for the whole month. If you are a Pisces, or if you have strong Pisces in your chart and you are not an addict lost in delusion, this could be a very uplifting time. If you're a Pisces with addiction problems or a Pisces that is delusional, this is going to be a really flippin' bad month. But regardless of where you're at on the Pisces spectrum, and keep in mind what I've talked about dozens of times, is that each sign is a spectrum. One point to keep in mind above all else for the whole month is that people hate the visionary. And all we got to do is look at politics to see that. People fear the innovative because it represents the future. And oh my God, they might have to change. Holy shit, what about that? On that sardonic, sarcastic, cynical comment, I'm going to wrap up this video. Thank you to Adam Knox and the Cult of You for the platform to do this. Of course, my daily horoscopes will continue to go out all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, if it's still around, who knows. Not on Blue Sky. I'm not interested in adding another social media account that's probably going to peter out like MeWe did. If anything, I'll be cutting back on social media in the next few months. Monthly horoscopes will be available on the website and various places, such as Echoes of Eternity in Farmington, Missouri, Pathways in St. Louis, and Heart, Body, and Soul in Columbia, Missouri. So you can still get all the information out there. And don't forget, we can personalize chart work too. Anyway, thank you all for checking this out. I hope you have a fun February, because it's going to be a head trip, I'll tell you that right now. And until we chat again, may we all receive blessings of good health, prosperity, and success as we move forward in the next month of our lives. And don't forget the wisest wisdom at all. Skilled seas do not make a seasoned sailor. Thank you.